Okay, I just wanted to start off by saying, look at my sweatshirt. Look how cute this is. I love Barbie. That is so adorable. Hello everyone, my name is Rosalind B. Sterling. I'm an adult crime comedy writer as well as an artist and an editor. And today I'm going to talk about what I worked on for NaNoWriMo, how that went, then move on to discuss some things related to a controversy, and what I'll be doing moving forward, as well as advice on how you too can move forward after such a long month of writing and probably stressing out. Starting off, my original goal was to write 50,000 words for book 2 in my current trilogy. And if you want to know more about my series and how I published it, then check the description down below because I will be linking a lengthy video I made just a few days ago about how I published my book. I had a lot to say, but I unfortunately did not meet that goal. I did reach 50,000 words, but I reached it while working on other miscellaneous short stories and work projects that had to be prioritized. I did manage to write about 25,000 words for book 2, so at least I reached half of my goal. I was hoping to finish writing the book by November, then do some editing and send out some beta drafts by the end of December, although it doesn't look like that will be happening. But I'm setting a new goal to finish writing book 2 by December or January, then do some editing and send it out by, I would say, next spring. Some of the things I wrote this NaNoWriMo goes as follows. 1. A short crime mystery story that takes place in the 1920s, which I submitted to a literary magazine. And great news, I got accepted. I actually just got the acceptance letter a few minutes ago, like right before I set up the camera, so great timing. I'm very happy because this is like my first submission that has ever gotten published anywhere. I've published a book before, but like I've never had any short stories or submissions get accepted to any magazines or anything, so this is like really exciting for me. I will definitely let everyone know when my submission has been published, so y'all can read it if you're interested. 2. I worked on a bunch of blogs and scripts for my social channels, just going over miscellaneous writing stuff about my publication, stuff about my story, etc, etc. For number 3, I wrote a bunch of feedback for a book I beta read. That was really fun, I really enjoyed the book, and I hope my feedback can help the authors. Number 4, I wrote a bunch of miscellaneous outlines and notes for my current series, as well as other projects I'm working on. Side note, I had to like rewrite my outline for book 2 like a million times because like, I'm pretty much a pantster. I don't even know why I bother to outline anymore because every time I write an outline, I never follow it. Like, outlines help a little bit, but they're very much more of like a suggestion to me rather than like something to actually follow while I write. But I still write them anyway just in case, you know, if I'm ever stuck and I just need something to look back on, to reference, to fall back on, whatever. Every time I thought I knew the direction that my story was supposed to take, my book would go completely off the rails and I'd have to rewrite the outline again to match the direction that my book was now taking. And of course, for number 5, I wrote 25,000 words for book 2. I had already pre-written about 36,000 words for book 2 before NaNoWriMo. My goal was to like write 50,000 words during October and then write another 50,000 words during November, so this way I can meet my 100,000 word goal. But of course that didn't end up happening, although I am at like, I think 60k now for book 2, so I'm getting there. I'm inching closer. This was my 7th NaNoWriMo in a row, and I can say for sure that I have not struggled this much during NaNoWriMo since like my very first Nano. But back when I first started NaNoWriMo, I struggled because I was young and I wasn't used to writing that many words a day. Now, that's not an issue for me. I can get like 2,000 words done in an hour if I wanted to. I'm just much more used to writing a lot in short periods of time. But my problem was that I was doing like a million other things on top of NaNoWriMo, all of which were related to things like work, school, personal projects. And so because I just had so many other responsibilities to take care of first, I was really struggling to get my word count done on time. But I managed to get it all done, and I need a fucking vacation. Okay, so now that we got all that out of the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about some controversy surrounding NaNoWriMo, which is not going to be super fun, but I feel like I need to discuss it considering how active I am in NaNoWriMo, and it's just important that people know about it. I am a bit late to addressing this, but whatever, this isn't a trend, this is something serious, and no matter how late or early I am to it, I feel like I need to talk about it. Long story short, there was an issue on the NaNoWriMo forums involving some moderators and minors. I won't be going into great detail about that since I don't understand the situation 100%, and I also don't want to speak for the people or the victims involved. Also, wow, the lighting just changed like incredibly. What the fuck? I was like red before, right? Now I'm like yellow almost. What was that? But back to what I was saying, I don't understand the whole situation and I don't want to speak for anyone involved, so you can do your own research on that. But what happened was really, really bad, and a lot of people are leaving NaNoWriMo because of it. I haven't left the site because I just don't know enough about the situation to make a decision like that. And also because it seems to be an issue that's mostly on the forums rather than the organization itself, at least to my knowledge. If anything I say is incorrect or you want to add on to this, then please feel free. But I believed it involved some minors getting lured off the site and being groomed. And nothing really got done about it, so the board of directors had to jump in. So I guess the issue wasn't 100% isolated to the forums, but my point is that it was something that started on the forums. It wasn't like an issue involved in any other parts of NaNoWriMo. It was like strictly a forum thing. Again, at least to my knowledge. This sort of surprised me because of how kind and loving this organization has always been. I never imagined in a million years that something like this could happen. So when I heard that this happened, I was like completely gobsmacked. But at the same time, all this doesn't really surprise me for multiple reasons. The first being that any space that's occupied by both adults and minors usually goes to shit, especially if it's under-moderated. And the second being that the forums have just been a super terrible and toxic space compared to the rest of NaNoWriMo. Their write-ins, groups, and activities have always been filled with nothing but positivity and wonderful staff members, but the forums has just always been a shitty place that I don't like to go. Their write-ins, groups, and activities have always been such a positive space filled with wonderful people. At least in my experience. While the forums were filled with a bunch of creeps and bigots who harassed and bullied people, especially children, and moderators who never really did their jobs, partly because they were understaffed and partly because I think some of them just didn't really care. A lot of them, at least when I was on the forum years ago, were very, very rude and unprofessional. I got bullied by adults on that forum a lot. I also saw some insanely, bigoted and immoral stuff posted. I also saw moderators curse out members in public comment sections, and also acknowledge issues happening on the forums and just outright refuse to do anything about it. Just super unprofessional behavior and not a safe space. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience on the forums, so buckle up for that. Keep in mind that I don't have proof of any of this, so you don't have to believe me. You can take all this with a grain of salt if you must. But I just wanted to at least share my experience, especially as someone who was a minor on that website for a very long time. I was once having a conversation with someone about being asexual, and a 50-something-year-old user came in and told me that no, I wasn't asexual. She said that it was just a phase, and that she went to my account and checked my age, I was 16 at the time, and told me that once I became an adult, I would enjoy porn, or other adult content. The reason that I thought I was asexual was because I was simply too young to understand sexual attraction, and would eventually find pleasure in it. Which is just a very fucked up thing to say for multiple reasons, especially to a minor. And while I understand her point that when you're young, you don't really understand sex as much as adults, and that maybe you'll find interest in that stuff later on, but that's still not something you tell a child. And also, if someone says they're asexual, just believe them. As an asexual, I'm so fucking tired of being told that it's just a phase, and that I'll find the right one, and that eventually I'll love sex. And also, another side note, you can be asexual and still love sex. Being asexual doesn't necessarily mean that you are repulsed by sex. It could, but not always. So assuming that someone is repulsed by sex or doesn't enjoy it simply because they are asexual is a terrible stereotype and a terrible thing to assume. So please don't assume that just because someone is asexual that they do not enjoy sex or don't have sex. It's a very personal topic, so don't even ask it to begin with, but if the conversation does come up, don't assume that about them. I'm getting sidetracked, but in the end, no moderators did anything about that. No one bothered to delete the comments, to stop the situation, to de-escalate the situation. No one bothered to do anything. Even some of the members were trying to help me out because the moderators wouldn't do anything about it. Hours I was being bombarded with dozens and dozens of hateful comments from adults who were insulting me, insulting my sexuality, insulting my life, insulting my writing, telling me that I should give up on writing, that my book was shit, that I knew nothing about life, and that my sexuality was fake, and it was just a whole mess. One moderator did eventually come in, and they obviously read the messages, but they didn't do anything. They just left a comment saying, "Hey guys, please be civil," and then left. Left me to fend for myself with all these fucking adults attacking me. I think I eventually deleted that post because I just can't find it, but it was a whole thing. I cried for hours, and I stopped writing for 2 weeks because of just how upset I was by the things that were being said to me. This doesn't mean that every single member and moderator on the forums is a shit person, because I've met a lot of wonderful people on the forums, including one of my editors. So I'm not here to bash every single person and just assume that because the forums is a bad place, that every single member and every single person in charge must also be a terrible person. There are a lot of amazing people on there, but there are also a lot of bad apples. I remember one person who broke guidelines over 16 times and just posted horrific shit, finally got banned, but like it took so long. Like the moderators were constantly giving this person strikes, and it's like, just why did it take so long to ban this person who was clearly being a disturbance and just posting horrible, horrible stuff? And look, I don't want to be hypocritical because, again, I was on the forums when I was very young, and obviously when you're a child, you're young, you're dumb, you say stupid shit, so I don't want to act like I was some perfect angel who did everything right. I remember being an edgy teenager who said weird stuff and was very uneducated on certain topics and really just shouldn't have been on the internet in general, but nothing I ever said or did could ever compare to the things that were being said and done on that site. This wasn't like just a bunch of young kids just spewing out bullshit and like just being dumb and like, whatever, just being crude kids. Like, these are all grown-ass adults who are full-on bigoted, full-on harassing, just posting the most awful shit that, like, even I, as like a dumb, uneducated child, knew was wrong. Not to like defend myself, because like, kid or not, we do dumb shit. It's still not excusable, but like, if the other members of the forums were like also children, which some of them are, but if they were like all children, then I can kind of understand the behavior a little bit. But they're not. They're all adults in like their 40s and 50s. It's like, I eventually learned better. I pretty much taught myself how to be a better person. Why couldn't they? These are people who had like years upon years to educate themselves and become better people. These are people that have access to the internet and can easily educate themselves, just like I did. What's their excuse? Not only was like half of the stuff they said 10 times worse than like just some dumb kid being dumb, but like, again, it was coming from adults. That's like the most sad and disturbing thing. This behavior, this harassing and bigoted behavior, was coming from adults. And nothing was done about it. I remember a older person on the forum making a post that was basically one long rant as to why they hated kids. Like, the whole thing was just them insulting the minors of the website. Just saying, like, I'm not gonna repeat what they said because I don't really remember, and also I don't want to, like, put words in someone's mouth. But all I remember was that they said, like, a bunch of terrible things about, like, the kids of the site. But, like, why do you feel the need to, like, publicly attack a bunch of children on the forum? And also, none of the minors there were, like, attacking adults. It was literally the opposite, yet somehow we were the problem. I've seen so many posts made by people of color, by queer people, by trans people, by disabled people, who are speaking about issues, who are talking about their perspectives on matters, speaking about things they have the right to speak about. And then people who do not belong in those spaces would come in and tell them, no, you're wrong, even though I am not part of this group. I have the right to talk over you, to talk over your voice, and tell you my opinion because my opinion is right and yours is wrong. So many minorities had their voices completely stepped on by people who had no right to be speaking over them, and apparently our voices made no difference despite us being the minorities. And of course, no one did anything about it. I saw one mod get into an argument with a member who was acting very inappropriate, and instead of just deleting the comments, this moderator went back and forth with them for like a long time, and eventually started cursing them out and getting mad and just acting really immature. Like, that is not how you handle a situation. I've been moderating groups since I was a child, and even back then I knew that if someone is acting inappropriate like that, just kick them, ban them, silence them, delete the comments, delete the messages, whatever. But don't just argue with them in the public comment section of a post that some random user made, and then curse them out and act like a child. Again, the fact that all of this behavior was coming from literal adults, it shocked me, but it also doesn't shock me. I haven't been on the forums much recently because of all those reasons, and I don't plan on returning there anytime soon. But like I said earlier, other parts of NaNoWriMo with their groups, their write-ins, their activities, they're all very wonderful, and I've never had an issue with any of them except the forums. I love the NaNoWriMo staff members, I love the people that I've met, and I'm just very sad to see this happen. It doesn't really surprise me, because again, that part of NaNoWriMo has always just been a shit show. But again, it does just make me sad to see it escalate like that. And to also see such a nice organization get tarnished pretty much because of a section that refused to handle itself properly, basically. At this point, I'm convinced that the forums are just some watering hole for weird and bigoted people. Does that mean that everyone on the forums are terrible? No. Does that mean that everyone outside of the forums are goody-good two-shoe angels? No. But again, that's just my experience as someone who's been involved in NaNoWriMo for over 7 years now. I'm glad the board of directors stepped in, and I'm glad that new rules and methods or whatever are being put in to try to avoid this in the future, and to also protect everyone. But like, that still shouldn't have even happened to begin with. I've always loved NaNoWriMo, but I can understand why people would be more wary of it now. What I will say now is, please do not harass anyone over this. What happened was obviously very bad, but I've been seeing a lot of people shit talk and shame people who either work there or participate. Although I understand the anger and I can't stop you from leaving, which is honestly a valid decision, but talking down on workers and participants who had nothing to do with it and in some cases didn't even know this was going on isn't good either. I'm not here to tell you whether you should stay or leave NaNoWriMo, or what kind of opinion you should make for them, but I am here to say that what happened was very wrong. It makes me very sad, especially as someone who has gone through similar things when I was younger. But I also don't want to see innocent people get dragged down with it. Nor do I want the writing experience to be soured because of horrible people, which obviously can't be helped. I think this whole thing kind of soured everyone's experience. But like I said, there are lots of groups within NaNoWriMo who are completely separate from the organization, who are also super amazing. And you also don't have to join the website or the organization to write 50k. You can just like do it yourself. You don't have to be a part of the organization. So I hope that we can still have some positive times with our writing partners and our projects. That doesn't mean that we should just ignore this situation, obviously. We should always hold the people involved accountable, as well as put in effort to make people aware of this, educate them, and take steps to hopefully prevent this from ever happening again. But I also understand that we have things to do and lives to tend to. And I hope that we are all still able to have somewhat of a good time with ourselves and our projects and have fun with our writing partners both last month and in the upcoming months. That's all I really have to say about the controversy. I'm sorry if I seemed really scattered while explaining it. I just really struggled to find the right words and make the right decision moving on from this. I don't want to start drama. I just wanted to mention that since it seemed really, really important. And also something that people should obviously be aware of. So if you have minor kids or are a minor yourself, please be careful with the forums and just any place on the internet in general. The internet is a scary and dangerous place, and I do not recommend going on it if you are really, really young. Take it from someone who has been on the internet since I was like 13. It's not a good idea, trust me. I had some great experiences on it growing up, but the cons really outweigh the pros. But please don't start arguments or try to shame people for participating or working there. A lot of us didn't know what was happening. A lot of us still don't know what's happening or understand it completely. Give people time to try to understand everything and figure out what we're gonna do. Just research the situation yourself and rationally make decisions on how you want to move forward. Speaking of moving forward, I'm moving forward this month by taking... Hold on, my dog's barking. Of course, this wouldn't be a proper video if Dakota didn't interrupt it. Say hi! Say hi, buddy! I'm moving forward this month by taking a nice, well-deserved break. Unless some unexpected responsibility gets shoved in my face, like it always does. I do have some concrete plans for this month, though, that I will be going over now. I want to try to finish writing book 2, and get some work done for a short story that I plan on publishing next year. It focuses on a 1920s murder mystery, and the two main characters are a queer couple who are investigators and owners of a nightclub/speakeasy. I also have another YouTube video in the works right now about my end-of-year wrap-up, my future plans, and maybe even an illustrated Q&A with me and my characters, if I get enough questions. So if you have any questions you want answered about writing, about art, about me or my characters, or my story, or my publication, or literally anything, feel free to comment them down below, and make sure to specify that it is a question for the Q&A. I will be illustrating all my answers and just having a lot of fun with it. Also, you are free to ask as many questions as you want. Lastly, I plan on giving a few updates about some projects I'm working on, including an animated pilot for a show I'm developing, which is going to be super fun and I can't wait to talk about it. I know it can be really hard moving forward after such a long month of stress and hard work, but my biggest advice is to just do what you're capable. Also, ignore Dakota, he is tearing up my chair right now. Comfortable? Take a break if you need to, keep working if you want to. Just whatever you gotta do. Remember, we're here to have fun and work on things that make us happy. This isn't a competition, and though I understand that sometimes deadlines are unavoidable and we're just gonna be stressed either way, your mental and physical health always comes first. So put everything aside and just take a little time to relax if you can. Your projects will always be there. For me personally, I tend to keep working after NaNoWriMo, but at a much slower pace. This way I still have things to do and keep me busy with, but not enough that I'm stressing myself out too much. Well, that is all I have for today. I hope you guys had a great Nano, whether you won or not, because remember, this isn't a competition. Don't feel bad if you didn't hit 50k. We're just here to have fun and get some progress done. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the month, enjoy the holidays, if you celebrate them of course, and I hope you enjoyed this video as well. I will see you guys later and hope you have a great rest of your day, and good luck on your projects.